Hey everybody, it's Brock and we got a brand new episode of All About. We've been getting a lot of suggestions for corals, so I wanted to showcase one of the oldest corals in my display tank. It's the Cabbage leather coral. Cabbage has been with me since like 2016. So he's super old. He's grown a lot. This is a sinulare, which classifies any leather coral that has large branching stalks, and in this case, more of like a cabbage-like shape. The coral is great for beginners as it's going to be a very hardy coral and it's going to be very easy to take care of in many types of saltwater tanks. So if you had a fowler forever and you're wanting to switch it up and go for a reef tank, it's a really good one to start it off. They're also one of the few corals that will easily survive from spikes in your water parameters or crashes due to heater malfunctions, kind of similar to mushrooms. They're just really strong, can usually survive whenever you do have those hiccups and mistakes along the way in this hobby. There are two varieties of cabbage leathers that you'll see. One is just the typical cabbage coral that's going to be tan to brown. Sometimes you can even find a pink coloration. And the second is this very neon green version of cabbage coral. It looks really cool. Frags of cabbage really shouldn't cost you more than about $30. They're very easy to grow. They're very easy to reproduce in the tank. So most of the time you're buying them from other people that have just continued to grow them and frag them off. If you're wanting a larger piece of cabbage, usually it's going to cost you a bit more depending on the size. The one you're seeing in the video is about 12 inches wide by 12 inches deep, pretty large, but you really shouldn't have to spend too much and they grow really fast. So getting a little frag, you'll be surprised that thing's going to grow a lot within the first year. Hair level, like I said, this is a really good beginner coral if you're new to adding things to your tank to turn it into a reef. Temperature, you want to keep it 72 to 78 degrees, DKH 8 to 12, pH 8.1 to 8.4, and your salinity 1.020 to 1.025. There is also one water parameter that I'd like you to keep up with, and that's your calcium. So I usually keep mine around 420. Typical ranges in a reef, they're going to be around 380s up to 450s. It's not as detrimental to keep this one up to a leather as it would be kind of like an SPS coral, but this is a great practice for you to dose a chemical in your tank, track it. That way whenever you get more corals that might require more attention, you're already prepared, you're used to it, and you know what to do. Water changes are also really important for cabbage coral. This one in particular, and like other leather corals, are venomous. They produce this chemical compound around their skin whenever things try to attack it, or if there's other surrounding corals near it, it will produce these things to not only protect itself, but to hurt the surrounding things so it can continue to grow. So water changes are big because it helps prevent that buildup of those chemicals around the tank, and placement is also going to be key because your cabbage coral can take over a tank. They can get huge. If you've seen some of my earlier videos, you'll see this massive toadstool leather that I had in my 55-gallon tank, and no kidding, it was touching the back, the left, and the front sides of the tank at all times by the time it got that big. The cabbage can eventually do the same. So with those chemicals the leather can produce, they can harm surrounding corals, causing them to shrivel up, stay closed, or even cause what looks like bleaching on your other corals. So give the cabbage leather plenty of room around them so they can spread out nicely. In my 75-gallon, I actually boxed mine in, putting the coral in the corner of my tank, and then had live rock on both sides of it. And that seemed to help the growth stay, at bay. It didn't overtake anything. Plus, I had anemones and mushrooms around it, which they just continued to sting the cabbage anytime it started to grow towards them. So that actually helped too. Since moving and changing my rock structure around in my tank, I placed him out in the open because I want to see how big he's going to get. It's going to be awesome. Another reminder with placement, with their ever-growing attitude, they can cause shadows below them, so be aware where you place them. If you place them up higher, just realize if he starts to spread out and grow further, if you had some nice zoa colonies on the bottom, you might be causing a shadow and causing them not to get light, so just be careful with that too. I've seen them do well in all parts of the tank, up high, down low, in the sand, in the middle too. My go-to is always in the sand bed just because it's easier to control them. It's easier to frag them whenever they're just growing along the sand bed. and along some of them bottom rocks. Current's going to be really important. Make sure you have a strong to medium current, but really heavily, I would say, try to get them under some strong current, because that's going to help them feed throughout the day. It's also going to keep stuff off their skin that can cause them to release more of that chemical. I remember flakes and pellets would sometimes land on that toadstool and land on the cabbage, and it would release those chemicals, and that stuff would literally turn into dust. It's kind of crazy to see. Lighting is also really important. They do well under a variety of lights. If you got T5s, metal halides, my favorite is always those high output LEDs. For par levels, you want to keep it around 50 to 150. So good, nice strong light on them. You'll really love it. The one in the video is under 2 Hydra 26s. If you're curious about what those lighting parameters are, I will go on and try to find where they are and let you know in case you're curious. If you're unsure about if the lights you have will work, or if you're looking to buy some, always remember to leave a comment down below. Reach out to me. Love to help you out with that. Now, I also get asked a lot, can fish host these specifically or other leather corals? And I have totally seen it a lot. It's definitely possible. I remember this 180-gallon reef that someone had that we cleaned every month, had this humongous cabbage leather and about a dozen different clownfish that swam all through the leaves of it. It was awesome. And I've seen them host toadstools, finger leathers too. So you should have a good chance. It's kind of random at the end of the day, just like adding anemones to the tank. Sometimes the clownfish love them. Sometimes the clownfish don't even mess with them. The one that's been in my tank with my maroon striped clownfish, he swims around it, but he's never done any kind of hosting with it. And they've been together their whole time. You know, it's been like 8 years and this never happened. He always likes his anemones. So how do they spread? So they're going to tend to grab onto nearby rocks and continue to branch off in all directions that their little skeletal spines can grab onto, and that helps them fuse onto it and keep them at bay. Sometimes they'll even branch off from the original piece altogether and grow out on its own, so you'll see kind of a mix of that. Most of the time, if they don't have anything to grab onto, you're just going to see that original piece just get bigger and bigger. You can see in the video, I have that one that's in the sand bed, and he also spread to another rock before I changed it up, so I have some cabbage growing from like the top to the bottom because some pieces went off on their own and started growing up the tank. So you kind of get a little bit of variety there depending on what they can grab onto. If you're wanting to frag them or practice fragging for the first time, this is a great coral to try it out on because it is super easy and it's also really good about healing itself after actually doing the fragging. So you'll want some really sharp scissors or a scalpel, and one of the best places to frag them is going to be underneath them as close as the rock that they are stuck to. Usually it looks like a whiter coloration from the spines, and once you get in there and just make your little cut, you'll want to wedge that frag between a few rubble rocks, allow it to grab on so it can have a little base, and then you can, move it, sell it, whatever you're doing with it. You can also use glue and rubber bands, but I always like to try to remind people, whenever you are using rubber bands, you're rubber banding the two rocks together with the coral in the middle. You're not actually placing that rubber band on the coral because that coral will just be bothered by that rubber band and it'll eventually just split its skin to try to get away from it. So make sure you're not actually putting that rubber band physically on the skin. Just put it around the rocks and he'll grab onto those rocks. Also, if you have some really big leaves that have spread off from the original spot, you can also cut those off too. Just overall, it's a really easy one. The skin's super soft. You can cut a good sized frag off of them fairly easily. My thing with fragging is always frag a good, nice piece that can grow quickly and also heal itself quickly. A lot of times people will go in there and make these tiny little frags, and you end up with frags perishing because they just didn't have enough for them to survive that frag. Whenever you do frag any leathers, do know that the stress is going to cause them to release more of that toxin. So have a water change ready to go to be safe. Some of the skin might also be white where the cut was made, but this should heal over time. Just make sure whenever you get in there and do some fragging, if you're doing a lot of fragging too, make sure you got a water change on there because they're going to release a bunch of that toxin in there and you don't want that stuff just constantly sitting in the tank. So can you feed the coral? Most definitely. So they will get a majority of their nutrition just from photosynthesis from the lights, but they will love some liquid foods too. On the ends of their skin, you'll see these little polyps, almost looks like hands grabbing the air. So feeding them things like oyster feast, fuel, reef-roids, all those liquid foods that you can blast into the power heads are awesome for the cabbage leather. They will shrivel up a bit when eating it, but I'm telling you, it'll help them grow tremendously with that extra. Leathers will also go through a shedding process every month, 2-3 months. Definitely expect it whenever you first add them into the tank. I don't know what it is, but they always tend to do a shedding whenever getting added to a new environment. When they do this, they're going to shrivel up real small, might even change colors a little bit, and what will happen is they'll see this kind of waxy substance across their skin. That's completely normal. It's one of their growing processes and how they basically clean their skin. So after about 5 to 7 days, it should come back out like normal. Most of the time, it's bigger than it previously was before the shedding. And if you notice that it's staying shriveled up for longer than that, definitely look into, testing your water, check your lights. Because if it's happening for longer than that, you might want to look into it. After that, I hope this gave everyone a good overview of what it takes to take care of your cabbage leathers, and also if it's going to be right for your tank. So if you have any experience with these corals or questions you'd like to ask, please leave it down below in the comments for future viewers to see. I love helping y'all out, and I love to hear your opinions on the corals too. The more we learn from each other, the better off we'll be in this hobby. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Happy holidays. Be safe, stay kind, and I'll see y'all later.